Kalee Boisvert is a financial literacy expert and an author of 2 books. She hails from Calgary. Thanks for joining me. So just talking today about affordability, everything that's costing more, inflation. How do people try to get ahead of that and maintain their sanity and their finances over the holiday season?
Yeah, that's a great question. So you're right. There is a lot of kind of attention on purchasing and buying, and it's been a really tough year financially for, I think, most people across the board. So we've had inflation, which means everything's getting more expensive. Interest rates going up, so it means our mortgage payments and things like that are more expensive as well. So all around, it's been a really tough year financially, and now we're in the holiday season, which historically is more of a big spending month. So I would say what can we do? Because that's the key, right? We need to focus on what you can do. There's going to be always a lot out of your control. So I would say plan ahead. And I know we're already sort of well into December and you're like, how do we plan ahead now? Well, you can still do some things to plan ahead. Like if you have, some more items you still need to buy, maybe you haven't even started, write yourself a list of what you need to do. It's just like when you go to the grocery store, writing a list versus not. I find I'm always like aimlessly shopping and buying a lot more versus when I have a list, I really stick to it, focus on that. So same can be said with shopping over the holidays. Write the things down. That's how we can plan ahead. Do your research. So at our fingertips, we have the ability to look up, when it comes to kids, I know they're very specific on what they want on that Christmas list. So if you can do some research of like, okay, how much is it, at Walmart or Amazon and compare some prices, you can find maybe a little bit of cost savings there. So again, it's at our fingertips versus back in the day, maybe when you'd have to like go through all the flyers and things like that. So should essentially be a lot easier to do. Track your spending. So I think a lot of people, it's the dreaded holiday spending and you're like, I have no idea how much I spent. And so there's a very easy way to answer that question. How much did you spend? It's just looking at your credit card statements, debit card statements, your online banking, just taking a look and keeping a track of that number. And that's what I call money awareness. And I talk about this in my book, Make Money Your Thing. I have a whole chapter devoted to money awareness. We don't have to say it specifically as a budget and putting restrictions necessarily, but you need to have an awareness of what you're spending if you have some sort of goals in mind or saying like I don't want to go into debt or use my credit cards too much this holiday season or whatnot. So you need to have that awareness. So it's not an exercise of beating yourself up or something like that. It's just an awareness tool of saying, let me take a look at what I've spent so far, and that's going to help you keep on track. So money awareness is key. And another one I would say is just getting creative, like think outside of the box. Again, we've had a really tough year financially. So what can you do that's maybe a different way to go about how you've done Christmas or the holidays and to spend less? Maybe instead of having like a big dinner gathering, maybe it's a potluck and everyone brings a dish and that's fun too. Like I love that idea. I'm not a huge like cook myself, so I never want to host because I'm like, oh, there's a lot of pressure of making the food. And so if everyone's bringing something, then it becomes more about just getting together and having fun. Do the gift exchanges, things like that. So get creative, think outside of the box, for ways that you can do things differently that won't necessarily cost as much, or maybe it won't cost anything.
How do you avoid the keeping up with the Joneses mentality that can get you in so much trouble?
Absolutely. Like you bring up such a good point there and had that written down too, because that's the pressure too, is that coming with like keeping up, and we see what people are doing more so because of social media. So we have to find ways to block out some of that noise. Maybe it's going on social media a little less often over this holiday season, and really being aware of things like targeted marketing are like full-fledged right now. Like you're getting the ads of, you need to buy this, have that. And yeah, there's a lot of pressure to that. So remembering, how can you block out the noise? How can you not, see all that? Because when you're seeing it over and over again, it does start to seem like, okay, this is the reality. I need to have, more stuff. I need to go get even more presents. So block out the noise as much as you can. Remember, you have the ability to say no.
So those are some really good tips, and thanks for the advice. I appreciate your time today. Thanks for joining me.
Thank you so much for having me.